Mhm. Okay, so let's start, I guess. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. So the title of this session is the From the Shannon to the Congo and Ireland-Africa Dialogue on Corporate Accountability and Climate Justice. So I could possibly start with my self-introduction. So my name is Luca, and I'm a senior PhD researcher at Trinity College Dublin. And today's conversation links two rivers basically here. I mean, two, I could say, completely different regions, and one shared challenges here, turning climate ambitions into enforcement practice that protects people and ecosystems. The core purpose is practical. We will explore how legal tools, especially corporate due diligence, access to remedy, transparent finance, and different opportunities within this quite important topic itself. So let's say first why the Congo Basin is a global public good, and we will definitely move forward with the second thoughts, exactly what Ireland just transition and litigation experience teach us about accountability. I mean, in other different third actions, especially within the corporate due diligence, and make it real different along the way here. And let's say the Congo Basin contains the second largest tropical rainforest on Earth. It regulates rainfall across Central and West Africa, store vast amounts of carbon, and sustains millions of the people whose culture, economics, and health depends on intact forests and rivers in these regions. And when the system thrives, it's stabilized climate for beyond Africa itself. When it degrades, the world feels the consequences into this regard. So pressures, I mean, it's a quite complicated itself topic, and it's contained in itself different aspects like mining, hydrocarbon development, and agro commodities, and different transport coordination here, and the cumulative effects of climate change itself. It's very important here, and communities face trade-offs they did not choose in this regard, while decision-making often happens for far from the forest age in different aspects here. So the key lesson is that the finance and law either reinforce each other, and also in this regard they undermine each other as well. If the climate and development finance rise without accountability, the risks are quite disaster here, and it contains like different aspects, including deforestation and distrust within the different communities as well. So if accountability arises without finance, communities are left with the obligation but no other options here. So we need basically in this scenario both by design, not by accident. And let's say Ireland's move away from the peaks and from different, I could say, old-fashioned approach here, show that the transition succeeds when it's planned with its communities and different workers, also societies and even religion. So that also includes some different early timelines and reskilling programs. So, I mean, local investment and social dialogue, which is very important here within the different countries. And litigation in Ireland has also played a role in, especially within the court decision, which is have pushed government to align plans with the legal duties, to quantify what delivers means, and to correct gaps between policy and practice. And litigation is not the, I could say, entire answer here, but it's to create a backstop that keeps ambitions quite honest. And for the basin itself, the transferable lessons are quite important because it's built transition plans around real livelihoods and right enforceable standards into permits and contracts and keep an accessible routes to independent review when promises are not met in a real practice. And accountability makes transition credible, and credibility, I mean, attracts different investment in this field as well. And for definitely for decades, voluntary standards try to manage harms in a global supply chain. They basically help but did not fix systematic problems here. And I could say they biting corporate sustainability and due diligence here, which is raised the bar by requiring companies to identify, prevent, mitigate, and also prevent like all of the possible risk in advance here, and especially within the human rights and environmental impact across different countries and suppliers here. So what basically changed on the ground here? It's definitely very important to cover because from one perspective, the human rights clauses is very important, but like in the other perspectives, we should also understand that the different stakeholder also impacts very significantly into these discussions. And let's say for even like within the Europe itself, and in it's very also important and quite applicable into the African region as well. So I could say so the supply chains and different, I could say, compliance here to also determine the I mean different project financing in this regard, and also it will help just to cooperate much more effectively and just to moving forward with different initiatives here. So basically success depends on alignment, and due diligence rules must match with national law and customer land tenure and regional human rights standards here as well. And so basically the Congo Basin Blue Funds is very important to this regard because it's definitely covers different ideas and mobilize finance that protects river and forests and different livelihoods will enabling sustainable development. And also to realize these promises, accountability needs to be part of these funds, because we should also think about how exactly, this initiative could be applicable into the different countries, especially in Ireland. So it's also very important aspects. And let's say we could basically think of this like no disclosure and no disruption, if we could say here. If communities cannot see the deal, they cannot shape it, and investors cannot trust it, and transparency protects both people and capitals here. And basically within the Ireland and Africa cooperation agenda, so we could say, and we basically could determine like a few pillars here and few quite important principles which could be applicable in this scenario. So let's possibly start with the first pillar. It's basically shared standards and model clauses, which is provide practical compliance pack for front applications and basically plain language guidance and different standard clauses on the human rights and the environment itself. So it's very important just to prescribe very, say, in a much more details all of these aspects. And even like moving forward to the second pillar itself, so it's a community first design, which is require early and iterative engagement within the different societies. And it could contain, say, so embedded revenue sharing formulas with and also some local employment targets and co-management arrangement into the legal enforceable contracts. And looking even forward with the different pillars here, we could say like the capacity and co-enforcement is very important here, which is dedicate the capacity window to front African regulation and also within the human rights. It's also extremely important aspects. And even considering whenever we will decide to moving forward with all of this principle, it's also important to understand that some risk also could be imposed. And into this regard, we should think about what we can do just to mitigate like, the risk itself. And basically, the first steps could be the start with the risk mapping, and that is public and which is, I mean, quite public approachable and testable here. And it's very important even in a different project, not even like in this one, because let's say even if you prescribed everything in a much more details, you should expect that in some way something could not go in the right direction. So you have to consider some possible different routes which could be applicable in the matter of when something goes wrong, and especially even regarding some climate justice and different methods which could be applicable here. So justice also concerns some different time horizons here, and the forest protection and livelihood transition are definitely long-term matters, but also we should take into account some short-term initiatives, which is basically applicable and could be realized in a maybe shorter term, but also, I mean, we have to, I could say, determine like the middle ground here, just to making sure that we could mitigate the risk as much as possible here. And so let's say even like comparing Ireland itself, so also considering like this project, it's a interesting and applicable principles within that could share some of the recent data about this development, so it also could be quite applicable here as well. And definitely it's let's say the Congo basin is definitely in this quite I mean complicated, and in another way it's a very interesting and very applicable principles applied within like this initiative, especially within the global climate sustainability. And the community who trying to look into these solutions is also very important to support them. And basically, we should also consider that like finance without accountability is also quite risky here, and it's why we basically need just to do our best here, just to mitigate the risk and just to move forward with this initiative as well. And I could say even like ending like this session with a quite interesting closing remarks here. So definitely today we should ask ourselves, so what we should do in this regard, and what could be, what kind of past lessons we could learn, and how can we move forward with this initiative, just to making sure that the further generation could be more protected, and even like within the different climate change development, I mean recent development, we have to understand like we have to also moving forward even if some mistakes happen. So in is here also very important to collaborate within the different countries, just to making sure that we could find out the right decision, which is, could be applicable for other nations, and for the humanities could be also applicable as well. So thank you. It's basically all from my part here. Uh, and so yeah, if you do have any questions, so I will be very happy to answer them. Thank you.